But when you come to things like Buddhist concepts, when you're talking about things like the law of karma,
and only the differences in our actions distinguish us from one another.
Life is like nature. Sometimes it's bright, sometimes.
You would never want to point the soles of your feet towards any of the altars or any of the images, certainly not towards it.
Jatu Maharajika Hall is another place where every memory of Wat Pathamakkaya
Sawadee-ka. Welcome to Meditation for All, the program for all who love peace and discovering themselves. This week, we will learn more about important Buddhist concepts from Reverend Thanisaro, which he has given to this year's International Ordinance at Wat Pathamakkaya, on topic of the meaning Buddhist faith and the connection between the three levels of meaning of the world.
My name is Prat Nicholas, for those of you who don't know me. I've been a monk here in this temple about 10 years now. Originally I came from England, but they like to invite me back every year to give this course for the Dhammadayattas. So don't need to put your hands like that. You can write down notes if you like. Maybe it's more useful. Because I'm sure that many of you who are joining this course still find that there are things which you find it's hard to accept about Buddhism. Even though you have come quite a long way, you have made quite a big commitment to studying Buddhism, to be able to want to become a monk for a month, which is quite a big step of faith. Even for people who are living in a Buddhist country, who are Buddhist from birth, it can be said that what you are doing is quite a big step. Okay? But what comes as part and parcel of your ordination is that you have to have quite a fair understanding of what Buddhism is about, to be able to really understand why you are doing this. Okay? It's not just a ritual to become a monk. It should be something a little bit more than that. But to discover exactly the meaning behind this, it's really important to have an understanding about what we actually mean by Buddhism in the first place. And that doesn't just mean to know about the life of the Buddha or to learn about how many different types of Buddhism there is. That's not the important thing. But what is important is to find out how Buddhism can actually work for us through our practice of it, so that it can transform us into a better person than we were when we started out on the course. So, the solution to this gap in understanding for many Westerners is what's called the Course on Buddhist Concepts. And I've been asked to give many courses in my life, okay? Most of the courses, I must say, are much less heavy than this course. Most of them are just concerned with meditation. And meditation, in a way, it's easier to teach. Why? Because even if a person is completely opposed to Buddhism, but if they practice meditation, eventually from their own experience they can teach themselves a lot. They'll be able to see for themselves that meditation is doing something for them. And it doesn't actually take very long. In the space of only a few weeks, they can see for themselves the changes that happen. But when you come to things like Buddhist concepts, when you're talking about things like the law of karma, the Buddhist outlook on the world, why Buddhists behave in certain ways, even though on the face of it, it may look like superstition, then it's a bigger leap of faith. Because doesn't speak for itself that you will understand what's going on when you do something or you join a Buddhist activity. There's something more behind the scenes, okay? And this is what I'm going to try to talk about more during this course, which we call Buddhist Concepts. It's a course of about 10 lessons. And many of the things on the lessons are concepts which normally we would hesitate to teach on their own. Even the Lord Buddha said that there are certain subjects which you should leave alone and should not speculate about by your normal conventional understanding. You ever heard about these before? The sort of subjects which the Buddha said just leave them alone. Can you give an example? Yeah?
What happened at the beginning?
Yes, the origins of the universe, did it have a beginning or not? That's one good example. Any other examples? Things like whether after you're enlightened, do you still exist or not? Do you have a self to exist in the first place? What happened in the beginning? What happens at the end of creation or the universe or whatever? The Buddha said, these sort of subjects, just leave them alone. Why? Because even if you try to explain these things until you are blue in the face, there's no way anyone can believe you 100% anyway. The only way to believe 100% in these sort of subjects is to practice for yourself until you can confirm it yourself through your own meditation. So no matter how convincing the monk is who comes to teach about these subjects, he can only ever convince you 99% of the way. Even so, on this course, we find that most of all the subjects which the Buddha said leave well alone are included on this course. What is the reason for that? Well, it's not just disobedience on our account. The reason for this is that we consider it's useful to have a roadmap. You could say, well, if you're on a journey, then there's no point getting people's hopes up by telling them what's further down the road, because they may never get there. But on the other hand, you all know by your own common sense that if you're on a journey, if you've got a map, then if the fog comes down, then at least you can use the map to get yourself out of the fog, right? If you're going over a mountain, you don't know what's on the other side, if you've got a map to help you, then that's, of course, that's helpful. Okay? We're not pretending the map is the reality, but it's useful to have a map of some sort. And this is rather like what the Buddhist Concepts course is doing for you. Okay? So what I'm not promising is that I'm going to be able to convince you about everything, but what I'm going to hope to provide for you is some sort of roadmap. And you can take the roadmap as you like. Okay? You can treat it as a fairy tale if you want. You can treat it as a reality which you've not been able to confirm for yourself yet. What we call giving it the benefit of the doubt if you want. But what I hope is that at the very least you'll see that Buddhism has an outlook on the way things happen in the world. It's not that Buddhism just means anything goes. Buddhism also has a standpoint. And how you understand that and the reasons for it, these are the sort of things that we look at on the course. A lot of us who have grown up in a secular sort of society have a feeling that anything where you're asked to take steps of faith is an example of being gullible. More and more, as we grow up in a society which no longer goes to church, where people who do go to church are seen as rather backward, then all we're left with is basically the media and science as ways to confirm the truth of what's happening in the world around us. We look in a strange way at people who have any sort of trust of anything outside these things. Even people who leave some things open to doubt. We think that they are namby-pamby, we think that they are they're not quite in touch with reality. And the first thing I'd like to say is that although we convince ourselves that we are rational people, a lot of the things which we do in the world, in fact, they are not rational at all. For example, I'm sure all of you get in your car and you drive to college or you drive to work without very much thought about the risks you are taking. Everyone knows that on the roads every day people are killed in car accidents. And there's nothing to stop us being one of those people who's killed in a car accident. But yet we have a trust that when we go in our car to one of these places, we're not going to be the one who's going to be killed that day. So we are already making a big step of faith even when we get in the car and turn the key in the ignition. Yeah? But no one thinks twice about that. No one thinks they're making an act of faith by getting in the car every morning. If you want to take this argument to extremes, even when you get out of bed in your morning, there's nothing to say that the floorboards under your feet are not going to collapse. It's only prior experience which leads you to think that today is going to be the same as it always was. And when you stand on the floorboards, they're going to support your weight. But in fact, there's nothing to prove that they're going to be not being eaten through by a woodworm or any other thing. So, in fact, although we convince ourselves that we are rational people, that we live only according to scientific realities, in fact, there's a lot more going on in the world which we choose to ignore. And many of these things are steps of faith. So, taking a slightly larger step of faith and subjecting ourselves to 1 month in a Buddhist temple, really it's a continuation, okay? It's not something where you're out of your mind to do it, but it's something which we do anyway in our lives, but we choose to ignore normally. Vice Abbott, he once gave an example of someone who didn't believe in the country Japan. Like you heard some people don't believe in heaven or hell or in fairies or in goblins or whatever, but there was someone who didn't believe in Japan. And why didn't he believe in Japan? Because he'd never seen it with his own eyes. Of course, this person didn't live in Japan, okay? So this person sounds pretty ridiculous. But they had reasons not to believe in Japan. Why? Because firstly, they've never seen it with their own eyes. So if you don't believe in something you've never seen with your own eyes, then you are a rational person. But anyone who knows about international travel knows that, firstly, if you have enough money to buy an air ticket, then you can get on an airplane and you can go and look at Japan with your own eyes. But of course there's a condition that you must have enough money first to be able to get on the airplane to go to Japan in the first place. Secondly, there must be an airplane to go on. Sometimes you may have all the money in the world, but they happen to have cancelled the air service to Japan. Then again, you have run out of chances to go and see what Japan really looks like. So you can see that even for quite a solid and rational thing like Japan, a person could claim that it doesn't exist simply because they didn't have the means to go and look at it. Many of the things we talk about during the course are similarly elusive. If we talk about realms of existence beyond what we can see with our naked eye, then people might say, well, it's rubbish. You know, it's like talking about tooth fairies. But again, if you apply the same conditions to these sort of things as you applied to the guy who didn't believe in Japan, then it's not that much different. If you want to go and see realms outside the human realm, then firstly, you need to have a means to get there. Just as you need enough money to buy an air ticket to go to Japan, also you need to have enough of a certain sort of spiritual energy which is going to be able to propel you in that direction. Okay? So even if there's a means to get there, but you don't have enough spiritual powers or spiritual purity to be able to use that, then again you fail to be able to prove it for yourself. And of course, you may need someone to be able to teach you the method to do it as well. But if you have the method, if you have enough personal progress to be able to do it for yourself, then there's no reason why you can't go and prove these things for yourself as well. So the sort of things I talk about during the course, they're not completely beyond the pale. It's not that there is no proof for these things. There is proof, but we are taking a shortcut. For most of us who are impatient to know about exactly how many realms there are in Buddhist cosmology, instead of waiting for you to meditate well enough for you to be able to go and see them for yourselves, as we have only a short time during this course, only a month, then we give you the answers in advance, okay? And it's not that they're going to spoil your interpretation when you do actually get to prove it for yourself. You have the roadmap, okay? But it's not to confuse the roadmap with the real thing.
In Buddhism, bringing the wandering mind back to its refuge, which is at the center of the body, is a task for each individual at the final chapter of life. In Buddhist culture, you'll see how relatives and friends help their loved ones complete this goal by recollecting his or her wholesome deeds done.
Perhaps life is forever. Even bodily remains are still recognized, well maintained in a small setia, as is the Buddhist tradition. Each year, the setia will be brought together for the younger generation to pay respect, and the story of the lineage will be scripted to an admirable conclusion. The family decides what procedures to use for the cremation ceremony. Some families choose the 5th or 7th day after the demise. Some families wait 100 days, and some let an entire year pass. In ancient times, the body was laid on a pyre of wooden sticks, either well decorated or unadorned. And after monastic rites, fire consumes the body. The most important moment is when the eldest monk goes up to the cremation stage to accept a set of 3 robes, or pa-trai. It is the last offering of the individual who passed away. And this act originates from the Buddhist belief that a monk can take cloth only from the dead body to make his robe. Following this act, the eldest monk lights the pyre, followed by the remaining monks in order of seniority. The head of the family and the guests follow the monks. The youngest generations are the last to reach the stage. The right to collect the remains of the deceased is held the next morning. The monks return and give their blessings. The blessings teaches that life lacks permanence, that none can escape death. All lives have this quality, and only the differences in our actions distinguish us from one another. For the family, the remains are the only tangible thing left behind, but they are still much loved. After taking a minor portion, the majority of the remains are brought to a flowing river. The best location to spread the remains is at the mouth of the river, before it empties into the sea, or at a major river junction. The ever-flowing currents will bring the spirit to heaven, and at the same time the remains return to nature, released back to their origins. In Buddhism, it is believed that life arises when the four elements, soil, water, wind and fire, unify with the spirit or mind. When the spirit moves on, the physical remains are best returned to their origins. The minor portion is divided amongst the sons and daughters. They will maintain them well in a small setia called a court, but in some families only the eldest son keeps the remains. These small setias, or court, are kept apart from locations with Buddha images. And if one is near to a Buddha image, it must not be placed higher than the image. Buddhists love to pay homage to the Lord Buddha every morning and evening, and at the same time they pay respect to their ancestors. Thus, the remains and the Buddha image are sometimes placed in the same room. This facilitates paying homage to the Lord Buddha and paying respect to their ancestors. To Lord Buddha they offer 3 incense sticks and make 3 salutations. For the ancestors, they offer 1 incense stick and make a single salutation. The small wooden setia, or cord, is designed to keep the ancestors' remains. The remains are kept in the cord because we must show respect for our ancestors. And the word setia, or jeddia, means that who we should respect. Buddhists place the remains of their ancestors in wooden setias, which they call cord. Yet, as a symbol of the Buddhist absolute truth, it is still called a setia or a jedi. Having well-maintained remains in a court brings life to an admirable conclusion. It is the way that younger generations will stay familiar with their ancestors. It seems that life is forever in the realm of respect.
Life has its ups and downs. Meditation helps lit the inner light that will guide you through the darkness in your life. Join Reverend Piyasilo in the next meditation session.
Here we meet again to meditate together. Last time we learned together how to live our life in the song, all along with the song of bitter and sweet, because sometimes life is sweet, sometimes bitter. But today we will learn how to live our life, enjoy the heavenly light together. Life is like nature. Sometimes it's bright, sometimes dark. It's like when the sun is up, the world is bright. When the sun is gone, the world is dark. Living in darkness is requiring the art of doing so. And Buddhism teaches us very well how to enjoy the life in the moment of darkness. Unbelievably, meditation is the tool and the only key to enjoy the life in darkness. Hope you are ready. This is already session 3 of part 3. For newcomers, don't worry. It's easy to join meditation at any time, even though frequent meditators have enjoyed a lot of benefits from meditation already. And I hope everyone is quite ready by now. Are you ready? And I hope so. And then we start the preparation by taking a good deep breath. Notice the softness of your own breath that you never experienced before. And slowly close the eyes. In the process of closing the eyes, it's important that we don't squeeze the eyelids so tight. We don't squeeze, we don't press the eyelids and eyelashes. We just allow them just to touch slowly and softly as before. Take a few good deep breaths again to ensure freshness. At the same time, to confirm the turning point inside the stomach. The turning point is the point inside the abdomen where the in-breath stops and starts to come out as an out-breath. So we follow the in-breath again. And where the in-breath turns out, this is where we discover the turning point. We have learned that the turning point is the station of peace. Every time the mind focuses over the station of peace, we start to gain inner peace automatically. Allow the mind to come back home to the home base at this station of peace. Allow the mind to stop wandering and starts to be still right over here for a moment. Enjoy the peace inside that is increasing gradually and slowly. Peace is now generated by doing nothing, just staying still over the station of peace together. At time of darkness, it is like the mind is covered by a thick black blanket. The blanket protects or hinders the mind from shining. At the same time, the light from outside can't even get inside the mind. The thick blanket here makes the mind really tough, rough, and generates a very negative feeling of the mind. Then to get away from the darkness of the mind, it is by meditation. In Buddhism, as we have learned together earlier in earlier lessons, the original quality of the mind is clean, is clear, and in a sphere form. But we can't see any of these because the mind is covered by the dark and thick blanket. But meditation will reveal the beauty, the clarity, cleanliness, and the true shape, which is the sphere form of the mind. Going back to the origin, which is the center of the abdomen that we refer to as a turning point. Going back to the center point will allow the mind to discover brightness of itself again. Buddhism also says this is the seed of life. Every time we connect to the seed, the origin of life, we'll get the original brightness of the mind. The brightness here will remove the darkness of life. Let the inner light shine through thoroughly out to the physical body. This is the form of radiation. Stay in the process of uncovering the thick darkness covering the mind. Now staying at the original seed of life. With a proper practice, with the right click, brightness will just shine easily and automatically. Those with such an experience would say it's a wonderful moment when we regain the inner light again. But if newcomers who don't know about this experience, let's understand the fact of life. That life is the matter of thought and memory that would create the cover, the blanket of life. Another truth of life about the mind is that the thought and memory can create picture. This is it, when thought and memory could create picture. So we have got to create the right picture. The right picture we are focusing now, we'll do it now together, is the picture of light. Then the right picture becomes the picture of light. Then the candlelight is popping up at the station of peace. With the right picture, the picture of the light of the candle flame is shining in tranquility at the station of peace. Let's enjoy the flame of bright light inside the center, at the very origin of life. Enjoy this for a longer while in such peaceful quietness. When we practice meditation often, enjoying inner light, in Buddhism we call this the light of wisdom. Once we gain an access to the light of wisdom, we will no longer suffer from the darkness of life. Life would be bright 24/7 every hour of the day, every minute, every breath of life. To gain light of wisdom is to be done by meditation only. This is what we are doing together peacefully. So to live a life in the brightness and darkness, Buddhism has the key, and meditation is your way out to live and enjoy life all night and day. This is the only way to survive the life in darkness. Enjoy the inner light throughout the Lent season. The rainy season is the Buddhist Lent season. It takes 3 months. Let these coming 3 months be your forever bright life, even in the night and darkness. Enjoy the light forever inside. This is the benefits of meditation. You get an instant brightness to live your life. And before we leave the class, take a few good deep breaths again together. This is to confirm again and again the existence of the station of peace. When we feel life is less bright or more dark, don't wait until it's too late. We should turn on the inner light by sitting down and do meditation right away. This is the way to enjoy life to the fullest. Enjoy meditation, enjoy life to the fullest. This is like the heavenly light, because once we get inner light like this, life is like new. It's like the light from heaven making us a new life. When ready, we could count down from 3 to 0, taking a deep breath as a confirmation again, and slowly open the eyes. Slowly. This is the proof that once we do the meditation properly, we gain the fruits, the inner peace, the inner light right away. With meditation, life is no longer in the darkness. Hope to meet you again in a brighter side of life forever until we meet next time. สวัสดี
To celebrate the Buddhist Lent, our interval will gear towards the international ordination of monks at Wat Phra Thammakaya, Pathum Thani, in which Vera will continue her interview with Richard Exposito, the former monk on this program, for his benefit and impressive moments.
And with these benefits that you received, I'm assuming that you've had to go through some challenges. And so my question is to you, what were some of the biggest challenges for you going through this ordination process?
Some of them are as mundane as maybe not having air conditioning constantly, or not having access to fans constantly. Thailand's a very hot country, it's a very hot climate. Most Westerners that come here find it very difficult at times. But this is part of bringing yourself under control. This is part of submission to receive a certain benefit. One once again has to sacrifice certain things. So there are certain physical discomforts that some people have to adjust to. This is Thailand, and Thailand is a hot climate. No air conditioning isn't provided most of the time, but having overcome these minor discomforts, the benefits that one receives through meditation, through studying the Dhamma, far outweighs the physical discomforts. But people should be aware that there are certain physical adjustments that one has to make.
Could you give me some examples of these adjustments?
Some of them may seem, once again, very mundane and very minor, but they're not to the person who's in the program and has to pass through these discomforts. Many Westerners place a lot of emphasis on posture and sitting on the floor, cross-legged. Perhaps 50% of all the meditation classes that I participate in, and most of the Westerners complain that they can't sit perfectly erect. We understand that Western culture, chairs are used. We understand that Thais are used to sitting on the floor. We understand that our limbs are different, our joints are different. So you're not forced to sit on the floor, you're not forced to sit a certain way. So physical adjustments to climate, physical adjustments to comfort zones, you have to be aware of these things. But once again, everything in the program that can be done to make your ordination process as comfortable as possible without going overboard is done for you. Mm-hmm. So having said that, one should be prepared. There are certain things that aren't all that comfortable, but the benefit far outweighs the discomfort.
Could you make some comments on some of the cultural adjustments that some people might have to make when coming here to Thailand? As a visitor or as someone who's interested in ordaining as part of this program?
Thailand is a very unique culture unto itself for many reasons, historically as well as contemporary in today's world. Some of the basic things, there are many, many differences. Thai people are very kind, very loving, very gentle, unassuming people. Basic things that Americans should understand is how to sit. Many times, the soles of one's feet, for example. This is very common here in Thailand, but many people that come here don't realize that when they're entering a temple, for example, you would never want to point the soles of your feet towards any of the altars or any of the images, certainly not towards any of the monks. The soles of one's feet in Thailand are looked upon as the lowest part of the body, and it's rude and insulting to show the soles of your feet to anyone. Thai people are not given to great shows of emotion. Should never touch a Thai on his shoulders or the head. These are just common things culturally that are not acceptable here. Open shows of emotion are frowned upon. As I said, the Thai people are very kind, very gentle, always smiling and unassuming people, which is to say that you are looked upon as good and kind and welcome until you show otherwise. Having said that, culturally, there's a difference in food. Obviously, rice is a staple here. Most Thai food leans toward the hot or spicier side. But as a monk eating in the temple, the food is all well balanced. It's well seasoned, and as in Buddhism, it's balanced and a middle way of eating. So you're not going to be exposed to anything radical. There'll be different tastes for you to experience. Even the air is different in Thailand, but that's why you've come here and made a journey to experience something out of the ordinary. So just to understand that sitting without showing the soles of your feet to anyone is important to remember. Not touching people on the tops of their heads. Don't feel offended if you extend a hand and no one shakes it. It's not part of the Thai culture. Also, learning how to why people is very important. This is a very important thing. It's a simple thing, but it's a gesture. So as the old Western adage goes, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. When in Thailand, do as the Thais do. And everybody will be happier for it.
So in closing, I'd like to ask you, out of everything that you've experienced and gone through in this program, what made the greatest impression on you?
It's a wonderful question, Am, and I can tell you without any reservation, without any doubt, the teaching monks that I spent that time with made the lasting impression upon my life, a lasting impression. In Buddhism, we have the triple gem, which is recognized as Lord Buddha, is one part. The Dhamma, his teachings, constitute the second part of the triple gem, and the third is the Sangha, which is the community of monks. As a novice and as an ordained monk living with my teaching monks, I saw the embodiment of these concepts literally.
In practice.
In practice, in the lives and minds of my teaching monks. I can name them. Each one demonstrated to me, in particular, one aspect of the triple gem. When one of my teaching monks embodied what true compassion was, and that is an attribute which is directly attributable to the Lord Buddha. When you see someone living the life that they expound, when you see someone literally practicing what they preach, this can have a profound effect on anyone. So I have seen monks that embody the compassion of Lord Buddha. I have in my program seen monks that embody the literal teaching of the Lord Buddha, master scholars who I have had the privilege and honor to sit at least 10 hours studying Dhamma with some of the most erudite scholarly monks that the Dhammakaya Foundation has. And I can tell you, I have seen the genius, the literal genius in these men's lives, how they devoted a lifetime to scholarly pursuit, to teach the Lord Buddha's Dhamma. So I have seen the embodiment of compassion. I have seen the literal embodiment of the Dhamma as monks live it and teach it. And finally, but certainly not least, I have seen the embodiment of the Sangha, which is the community of monks. I have seen how the teaching monks care for those that are part of the ordination program. Literally teaching us how to dress every morning. Literally helping me to tie my sash every morning. I came away from the ordination program with a living example, not just head knowledge, but heart and life knowledge.
To follow and practice.
To follow and emulate, which is the essence of learning. To practice what you have learned and make it part of your life. This is taught by example, not just mental or scholarly pursuits, but life pursuits. Bringing yourself into submission to a higher level, to a higher learning, to a higher pursuit is the ultimate goal that everyone should pursue and have. If you have the opportunity to do it, don't wait, do it now. Long-term benefits, your life will change immeasurably. As you carry away from the ordination program, the teachings that you receive, your life from day to day will be altered. These are long-term benefits, and like anything else, good habits need to be practiced every day. You're going to make new habits as an ordained monk, and hopefully if you decide to disrobe, you will continue on with them. I did decide to disrobe after the program for a very specific reason. Many ordain for life. Many can ordain for extended periods of time, 1 month, 2 months, 6 months for a rainy season, as we say here. I disrobed because there are certain programs and projects I'm involved with in the temple that would make it very difficult for me to pursue and cultivate as a monk. But as a lay person, as a person that helps in many of the programs, I am freer to move about and propagate these programs. In the future, I hope to ordain once again for life. Not right now, but I'm more useful in this capacity as a lay person for the foundation to help promote meditation and to help promote attendance to this program. Once again, age shouldn't be an obstacle. I'm 50 plus years old. I know that may be very hard for some of you to envision. But age is not an obstacle, whether you're young or old. Your background is not an obstacle. It's the intention of your heart. And if you are a Buddhist and you understand, have some understanding of the Buddhist faith, then I suggest and recommend to take it up a notch, kick it up a notch, take it to the next level and ordain as a monk. You'll take away from this program invaluable experiences. And as I said, the greatest experiences that are with me today are the examples given to me by my teaching monks.
So I'd like to thank you again, Richard, for taking all this time to come and share with us your experience. And I hope that the viewers can take his words of advice in preparing for this ordination ceremony. So thank you again, Richard.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Anne, for the time.
So please join us next week as we interview future participants in the International Tamatayada Ordination Program. See you next time. Swadika.
Next, my co-host Vera will take you on tour of the temple. Let's follow her.
Sawadika. Hello and welcome back. My name is Vera Rungchugul, and today we're on the tour of Wat Pratamakai in Pathum Thani, Thailand. We're here today in front of the first hall ever created in the temple, called the Jatu Maharachika Hall, named after the first realm of heaven in Buddhism. This building used to be an open-aired, multi-purpose building with a unique design, having only posts along the side, bearing the entire weight of the building, and with no posts in the middle. So you may wonder, what's the significance of not having a post in the middle? Well, there's a reason for this. Not having a post in the middle allowed everyone to see the stage clearly, and most importantly, allowed everyone to be seated in rows. So what's the importance of orderliness? Well, orderliness on the outside allows for orderliness on the inside and makes it easier to train the mind to come to a standstill when meditating. The building can accommodate up to 500 people, which 30 years ago, people thought was quite an ambitious project to build such a hall to accommodate such a large gathering. But soon after the hall was completed, people filled up and people overflowed to the outside. So then, people decided to sit underneath the surrounding trees. So this marked the first milestone of success and determination of both Long Pa's and Kun Yai in the teaching and spreading of Buddhism. At that time, people who came first enjoyed the privilege of being able to sit near the teachers on stage. But those who came later preferred to sit outside under a tree of their choosing, sitting on a mat and sitting with family and friends in silence, while still being able to hear and see the teachers clearly. In those days, almost all of the temple activities occurred here in this building. But most importantly, this is the place where the seed of Dharma, or the truth of life, was planted in the hearts of those who came to Wat Pratamakai. Every first Sunday of the month, we would see Long Pa Thamachayo conducting the ceremony of the offering of sustenance to the Lord Buddha, known in Thai as Bucha Khao Phra. This tradition started at the time of Kun Yai Thong Suk Samdang Pan of Wat Pak Nam, Pasi Charan, and continues until this day. After the Bucha Khao Phra ceremony, Long Pa Thamachayo would teach meditation, followed by Long Pa Thatat Jiwo, who would give Dharma talks from the Tripitaka. Could you believe that in the past, when people walked past this building and saw the stage where both Long Pa's and the area where Kun Yai would sit, they would bow and salute with loyalty and gratitude as if the teachers were still there. No one ever put anything on the stage or made it untidy. Nowadays, this building is still in use. Monks come here for their morning and evening chanting and for meditation. On Saturdays, lay people come here for long sessions of meditation in the afternoon. The memories of these beloved teachers still remain fresh in the minds of those who came to Wat Pratamakai at that early age. The feeling of sacredness could still be felt by newcomers who came later and who didn't see what the building was like before it was altered. And so, Jatu Maharachika Hall is another place where every memory of Wat Pratamakai, past and present, is kept alive, awaiting your visit. Sawadee ka. Until next time.
We have come to the end of today's program. I hope you have enjoyed our show, and we'll see you again next week. Have a bright week. Sawadee ka.